Hey everyone, all right then, another tutorial to another very, very long guitar solo. The absolutely outstanding 4 to 5 minute long outro solo to Mark Knopfler and Dire Straits' masterpiece, Telegraph Road. Part 2 in our two-part video looking at the majority of the guitar parts in this great song. This was due about a week ago, this tutorial. Sorry about that. I was in the hospital. Not going to delve into why right now, but let's just say that I'm fine and ready to get going again. We are in standard tuning with this one, and as the chordal structure that we're soloing over is bouncing back and forth between D minor and F major, both scales which you can use the exact same notes. So we'll be doing most of our soloing within the D natural minor scale and the D mixolydian scale. Here, mostly at the 10th fret position. We'll also be finger picking the entire solo because, as most of you already know, Mark Knopfler was and is a finger picker. I will not be showing you which right hand fingers to pick with for each note. That would just become far too involved. You can work that out on your own or watch my right hand fingers or, use a pick if you like. Though there are parts of this solo that I honestly don't think can be played properly with a pick. But I haven't tried. You'll lose also that nice soft plucky attack that is such a trademark of Knopfler's tone and style. Regardless, let's close in here, show you guys how to play it. We'll try and have a little bit of fun with this one because this is going to be one long ass tutorial because this is one long ass guitar solo with very little repetition. I may get lost a time or two. We'll see. Now, right now, before we get started, a quick word about tone. Mark Knopfler is pretty well known for having a very, very clean guitar tone. This one has a bit more gain than a lot of Mark Knopfler's other solos. We'll be adjusting that gain level once or twice using our volume knob on the guitar. Going to start out with our volume down on about 7 to 8 to kill some of the saturation during the opening minute and a half or so. Then we're going to crank it up when the solo really kicks into gear at about the 140, 150 mark. Going to break this up into about 9 or 10 parts. So let's have a quick playthrough of what I'm calling part number 1 and see how that goes. Alright, so we have our volume down on about 8. We are in position 2 on the Stratocaster. Bridge and middle pickup both on. And so the opening 40 seconds or so, part 1, goes a little bit like this. Let me get into frame here. D chord. And that's part 1. So, like I said, starts with a D chord, except you're not hitting the bottom string, so you're just plucking the D, the G, and the B string of a D chord. Slightly out of tune. And then this lovely phrase. So that is open D and open G. And then you're going to grab the 3rd fret of the D string, slide it into 5. And then you're going to grab the open G, open B. And when you hit the open G, open B, then you're going to drop onto the, with your index, the 3rd fret of the B string and 4th of the G. And then you're going to slide that 4th fret of the G into 7 of the G. And when you slide into that 7, you're going to grab the 8th fret of the B and let that ring along with the 7th fret of the G. And then you're going to flatten your middle finger, which is on the 7 of the G, down to cover the B as well, the B string on the 7th fret. And then you're going to slide that into 11 and catch the 10 of the B string. And give it a little bit of light vibrato. Through that one more time. And then we're into this. So we're grabbing the 5th fret of the G string, giving it a double full step bend. Now the studio version of this, he is using a volume swell, a volume pedal during that. He kind of hits the volume pedal just before he does that double bend. So you're going to let that bend come down, and then nothing too complicated there. And then we're into this. So we're going to slide into 5 of the A string. And then a little double stop. You're going to double stop that twice on the 5th fret of the A and the D string. Finishing up there on the 5th fret of the A string with a double hit. And then we're into this. Finishing on the 5th of the G string, a little vibrato. You're going to grab this 4th fret of the G string, 5th fret of the D, hit those together, and then a couple of light double stops here on the 5th, sliding into 7. You're going to hit the 5th fret on the G and the B, double stop, and then slide it into 7. And then you're going to slide that 7 into 11 and then back to 7. And that is the end of part 1. So let's run through that right from the beginning. D chord. Volume swell. End part 1. Now let's have a look at part 2. Going to play, I think it's maybe about 40 or 50 seconds long, this part, and we're going to call this part 2, and then we're into these fun little things. And that is what we're calling part 2. So, open D, hammering on 5 to 7 of the D, all in one motion. And then grabbing on the upstroke, the 5th fret of the G string. And then do it again. And then you're going to those mutes that he does so much, and I may miss a few here and there, and I may add a few here and there. Once you get started playing Mark Knopfler, you start adding all these mutes, and basically I'm just resting my finger on the 7th fret of the G string. Kind of like that, you know, not pressing down, just resting. You don't want to get on over the fret because you'll end up getting harmonics. So you got to be right in the middle of the fret. Kind of like that. That's the first one. And that's kind of the third one. So the first one. So that one you're doing the hammer on, and you're hitting that 5th fret like 3 times, sliding it down to 2 of the G string, pulling it off to open, back onto 2, and then open D. So from the beginning of part 2. And then you're going to do it again, and then we're going to move down here into this. Into that part there. So down here we're doing mutes again, doing that again, on the G and the B string at the 5th fret. And then you're going to hammer on the note at the 5th fret. And then a little hammer on release back to 3, from 3 to 5 back to 3. And then you're going to hit that note very briefly at the 3rd fret of the B again, and then grab 5 and slide it into 7. And then this. So you're going to use your ring finger for this, because that sets you up to put that right in place. So you don't want to be using your middle finger because there's too much jumping around. So use your ring finger, double stop on the 5s, on the D and the G, slide it into 7, and then just get right into there, your index on 5 of the G and your middle finger on 6 of the B for a double pluck. So up to that point in part 2. And now we start it over again. And now the second go round of this, that business there, you're not going to do the mutes this time. You're just going to drop onto the 7 of the G. Just like that. And then the 3rd time you're going to go up to the 7 of the D. So there's no muting going on here, no dead notes. And then we're into that cool little lick. Open A, hammer onto 2. Sorry, hammer onto 3. At speed, that's a lovely little finger picking exercise. You're doing all that finger picking like this on the one string, which gets a little tricky. I think he's overdubbing those in the studio version, adding a little extra weight to those notes and hitting it with a little more gain than what he's playing normally. But so where were we? Back into that one more time, and then back into this position here with the mutes on the fifth fret of the G and the B. And so this time we're not going to do the hammer on release. We're just going to 5 3. Sorry. That's it, correct right there. Mute, back to 3, pull off 6 to 3, up to 5, slide to 7. And when you get to that 7, you're going to hit it like I think 3 times, slide it into 11, and then back to 5, back to 7. Slid up a little bit too high that time. And then we're back into that again one more time. Same way we did it the second time. Back into that. So the third go round of that whole that business there. The second and third are pretty much the same. And then we're back into this again. Double mutes on those 5th fret. And then again, we're not doing the little trill. This time again, we're going to do the double dead notes. 5 to 3. Adding a few little dead notes in there as well. That doesn't sound right. Okay. That does sound right. That's it, correct right there. So let's play through. That's the end of part 2. Let's play through that at a nice relaxed pace, and then we'll move on to part 3. And that is the end of part 2. Part 3. And that is part 3. So we're here at the 7th fret with our index finger on the D and the G string, starting with an open D. Kind of that feel, and you repeat that like 3 times. And you're just bouncing up and down off of that 7th fret double stop. And hitting little double hits on the D string. And after 3 or 4, then you're going to grab the 10th fret of the G, pull it off to 7. Now you can always, start adding mutes to that, dead notes, because that's, just part of Knopfler's style. But, if you're playing every single note and hearing every single note, you're not going to get that feel of Knopfler, like what I'm doing right here. That's the right notes, but, to get a real feel, you want to start maybe adding in some dead notes. And so you do that like 3 times, and then the 4th time, you slide that double stop on the 7th fret up the neck, and then you're just going to play a little bit with the middle strings, kind of like that, and finish up with a double stop on 12, double stop on 10, kind of like that. Into it, and then the second kind of go round of that little phrase right there, you're only going to do this once, and then you're going to do that 3 times in that position there on the 7th fret, and then you're going to jump up here and play this little chord. Your index barring the 12th fret, and your ring finger on 14 of the D, middle finger down here on 13 of the B string, with the 12th fret of the G in the middle. And then you're going to back that up to a double stop here at the 12. And then just double stop from 10 back to 12. And then open strings, open D, open G. And then more double stops back and forth between 7 and 9. Give that a good little waggle, that double stop on the 12s. And then when you get back there to the 9s, good, just bend that down, give it a little waggle while you're there. And then 7, 9, 7 of the double stops, and then open D string. And that's the end of part 3. So let's run through that quickly, and then we'll move on to part 4. And we're part 4, we're going to crank our volume up a little bit more and get a little more gain going here. So the beginning of part 3 was... And now we're into part 4. Crank your volume up all the way, get a little bit more gain going on your guitar here, and this is part 4. And that is part 4. So, there's a lot of double stop work going on in this solo. Now we're at the 10th fret on the G and the B string, double stop twice. Up to the 12 of the D. For like a double hit, I think. You can always give that a little downward tug when you're kind of like that. And then you're going to grab the 12 double stops on the G and the B. Give it a nice little half step bend. Release it back to the 10s. Back onto the 12s for a double hit, and then back to 10. Sorry, I'm going to correct myself a little bit there. When you go back to the 10s, at the very end of that little phrase, you do not want to hit a double stop. You want to hit a down pick with your thumb on just the single note at the 10th fret of the G, kind of like this. More like that, not double stop. Because now we're working into single notes, and then if you're grabbing a double stop there and you're working, now we're going to start working into single notes coming out of double stops. It's going to sound weird unless you finish that phrase with a single note. On the 12s. Adding a few little mutes in there as well. Up on the D string, 10 onto the 12. And then we're into this. Back into the exact same thing we did to begin part 4. Double stop, double hit at the double stop on 10, up to 12, and now into a very Knopfler-esque, hold on, my camera's going to shut off, and we're back. So now we're into, like I said, a very Knopfler-esque type of little run, so... And so that is right down the pentatonic in the D minor position here. And then we're jumping up here, grabbing the blue note there out of the pentatonic at the 13th fret, pulling off to 13 to 12, back to 10. And then finishing up that whole little run, little scale run there with a little hammer on from 10 to 12, and then we're going to hang on that 12 for a bit. Kind of like that, adding a few little dead notes in the middle of it. And then we're going to go 12, 11, 12. G to the D string twice, adding in a couple of dead notes in the middle. And then we're into this. So we've got our ring finger here on 12 of the G string and our pinky up here on 13 of the B, and we're going to start bending the 12th fret of the G, keeping that pinky nice and still. double bend. So it's 2 bends, and then you're going to pull your ring finger off the 12 back to the 10 twice, and then 2 more bends. Into this. More double stop work. Back into the 12th fret position, double stop, bend, bend, release it, pluck it like I think 3 times. 12, 11, 12, 11, 10, 9, finishing up on the 12 of the D. And this is this note here and that note there, that's Mixolydian stuff. He's really mixing up scales here, so. And then we're back into this position again with our pinky on 13 of the B and our ring finger here on 12 of the G. And again, we're going to start doing these bends. So we're going to do 1 bend, release it, and then we're going to start, I think, 3 times on and off, or I think 4 times actually, on and off with our ring finger on 12. And then 2 final bends of the 12 of the G. Kind of like that. And then we're into this. So, little triads there that Knopfler is so famous for. So we're barring the 12th fret of the D, the G, and the B. Got our pinky up here on 15. Backing it up to 13, backing it up to 12. And then you're going to do it again. Stop at the 13. And stop at the 13, I think, for 3 hits. 4th hit, you're going to slide it back to 10. And then you're going to get your ring finger up here on the 11 of the G and grab those 2 notes together and let that ring a little bit. And you know, it's to get a few dead notes in there. You don't have to hear every single one of these notes. So that's the end of part 4. So let's play through that slowly, and then we'll move on to part 5. Part 5. So part 5. Sliding in with our index into the 7 double stops on the, actually these are not double stops, we're picking each note. Sliding in to the 7 of the D and the G string, just down, up twice. And then you're going to start pulling off from 10 back to 7, up to 10 of the D, and then back to 7 of the G. Kind of like that. You can. I'm using my pinky. You can use your ring finger for that pull off. And you're going to do those twice. And then after the second time, you're going to grab that 10, slide it into 12. And he's really giving that a shake when he's playing it. And then a couple of dead notes again as well. Backing it off to 10, grabbing the 12 of the D. Couple of dead notes. And then he's going to play on that 12th fret for a little bit. He's 2 hits, giving a nice waggle to those notes. Going to hit them twice again, but we're going to start bending them and really giving them a good shake. Kind of like that. You know, a full step bend, I think, but you're kind of like, it's kind of like a double bend. And then we're into this. More Mixolydian play here. Sorry. And then we're into this cool little lick. More little triads, sliding into 8 of the A, and then grabbing 7 of the D and 7 of the G. And then sliding into 12 of the D. And then a little pull off from 12 to 10 up to 12 of the D. Kind of like that. And then you're going to go back into that again. And slight variation on what he just did. We're dipping down here and grabbing the 10 of the B. And then we're going to finish it up by going back down the 10 of the G and the B. And then we're going to grab that 12 of the G string, give it a 3 or 4 hits, give it a good waggle while you're hitting them. And then you're going to grab this, it's best to grab this with your pinky on 15 of the B and your ring finger on 14 of the G. Bend the 14 of the G. Double bend and then double hit at the natural note at 14 of the G. That's the end of part 5. So let's run through part 5 and then we'll move on into part 6. Part 6. And that's part 6. So, more little triads. Middle finger on the 14th fret of the G string, ring finger on 15 of the B, index on 13 of the high E. And then finish up on 15 of the B. And then a couple of full step bends at 15 of the high E. And then 13 to 15 of the high E, double hit at 15 of the B. And then we're just going 15 back to 14 of the high E, up to 15 for a double hit of the B string. And then again. Lovely little Knopfler-esque run right there. So that run is coming out of the little triad. You're getting your index on the 13s of the B and the high E. And then you're pulling off 17 back to 13 of the high E. And then you're doing the exact same thing but pulling off the 15 to the 13 the second time. And then you're shifting. Now you're pulling off 15 to the 12 of the high E, up to the 13 of the B, back to the 12 of the high E, and then right up the pentatonic of the E minor. Little scale run. And then back into that position again with our pinky on 15 and our ring finger on 14. Double bend. Back to the natural position for a double pluck of that double stop. Okay, that's the first half of part 6, and going to run through that slowly, and then we'll move into the second half of part 6. And now we're up into the higher registers here at the 20th fret, giving it a full step bend on the B string, pulling it off to 18, and grabbing the 19 of the G string. That lick there you're going to repeat, I think, 3 times. You are. And the third time, you're going to keep that 20th fret of the B bent. Third time. And you're going to grab the 20th fret of the high E for a little double up pick. And then you're gonna, while you're keeping that 20th fret of the B still up there, now you're in pre-bend position. Now you're gonna start releasing it. And now this is a little tricky because you're rolling here on the 19s. 19, 20, 19 of the B, rolling up to 19 of the G. I think it's a double hit. No, single hit. There it is. And now we're going to do it one more time. And then finish up on the 18th of the B. And then you're going to grab the 20th of the high E, bend, release, back to 17, back on to 20 for a full step bend. And then you're going to kind of start letting that bend die. And then you're going to do a little trill between 17 and 20, back to 17. And then we're into this. So after that bend, after the little trill, we've got our index on the 15s of the B and the high E, pulling off 17 twice, grabbing the 15 of the B along with it, kind of like that. And then we're back here working on the 13s and 15s. Kind of like that. And then we're into this. Bending 13, grabbing the 10 of the high E. Rolling here on the 10s from the B string to the G. And then we're string skipping there. After we go down to the 10 of the high E, we're string skipping back to the 10 of the G string to finish that whole phrase. And that's going to lead us into part 7. So let's run through that. I think that was part 6. Was that part 6? I think so. So let's run through that and then we'll dig into part 7. Alright, so part 7. And so he's got layered guitars going on here, but this is kind of like the main guitar. I think he's doubling and tripling this line. So hammering on 10 to 12 of the G, riding down the 10s, grabbing the 13 of the B, doing it again, grabbing the 12 of the B, finishing up with a little double hit there on 12 of the D string. And then repeat. Just once though. And then you're going to go 10, 12, back to 10 of the high E. Grab the 12 of the B, back to 10 of the high E. Very quickly. And then we're into that little scale run there. So you're going to hammer on 10 to 12 of the B, catching the 10 of the high E 3 times. And then right up the pentatonic. And finishing that little scale run on the 12th fret of the D string. You can always add little dead muted notes in there as well. So let's run through part 7 there at a nice relaxed pace, and then we'll move on to part 8. We're into part 8. We're back into these. We're finally repeating something. We're going to call that part 8. So, same thing we were doing at the beginning, hammering on open, 5 to 7 all in one motion. And now this time it's a little simpler because we're just down to the 5 of the G, up to the 7 of the B, D. Again, 7 of the G the second time. And then the third time, just back to the 7 of the D. Much simpler. No dead muted notes. And then this again. And then this again. Double back into this position again at the 5th fret with the dead muted notes on the G and the B string. Again, 5 to 3. And then we're playing a little bit of a different lick here. You can have fun with this, but little blues kind of lick, bending the 5. Kind of like that. Something like that. And then we're back into this again. Now, this time, we're not going into this. This time, we're just going to hang on these 2 notes a little bit longer. And at this point, he stops playing, and the rhythm guitar comes up and fills that little hole where he stops playing for about 4 or 5 seconds. And you can hear the rhythm guitar, D. And then he's 3 on the A, open A, into F major, D, kind of like that. So it kind of sounds like this for the second go around of this. And then you kind of, it's two different guitars playing, and they're kind of playing over each other at this point. But he's back into these little mutes again. 5-3. And finishes it up with that. Bend. Again, 3 of the B, 5-2 of the G. So let's run through that section 8 at a relaxed pace here, and then we'll move on to section 9. God damn, this is a long guitar solo. This is going to be a long tutorial. And section 9. All right, part 9. And god damn, this is a long guitar solo. So let's, where are we? So this is a little bit of tricky finger picking going on here. A lot of dead muted notes, and at speed, it's pretty tricky. But because you're doing a lot of a lot of finger picking on the same string with two different fingers. So the way I'm kind of playing this, pulling off 3 to open with my thumb, and then I'm getting my index finger up here on the 5th fret. And hitting a couple of dead muted notes on the A and the D string. Kind of like that. And doing a little doublet there every 3rd or 4th time. So that's that lick, and it repeats. You can always grab the open G. That sounds really good. I don't know if he's actually doing it. This part of the solo is a little bit buried in the mix, but like grabbing the open G sounds really nice, kind of like this. So that repeats, I think, 3 or 4 times, and then the last time he slides into 5 of the A, grabs the open G, and pulls off 3 to open of the D string. Kind of like that. So kind of like that. And then we're going to start doing that again. And I think the second time he goes through it like 2 or 3 times. And then he does this very strange little lick. Sliding into 4 of the G, grabbing the open B, pulling off 2 to open of the G, and then a bunch of dead notes open G, or sorry, open D, dead notes, 3rd fret, kind of like that. And then he jumps up here. Back into this position again. Similar, something a little bit similar to what we were doing before. Finishing up with a little slide from 10 to 12 of the D string. All right, into part 10. All right, part 10 and final part. This is going to get us to the end, I think. So here is what the last section of the solo sounds like. And that's pretty much the end of the solo there. It kind of fades out, the guitar solo fades out, and then he's into the chords. And so let's break that one down. Doing something similar to what we did earlier, except we're doing a little trill first. And then doing that here at the 10th fret. The first time we did this, we were just going 10, 12, 10, 10, 13. Now we're doing a little trill first. And then doing it. And then we're doing it again, the same thing we did before. First time we go to 13, second time we go to 12. And then that little lick on the 10, 12, 13 of the B. And then a quick little couple of dead notes on the same notes, so kind of like this. And then again. And now into some double stops again. So we're on the 12th fret of the G and the 13th of the B. And then backing it up to the 12s of the G and the B. And then backing it up to the 11 of the G and the 10 of the B. So in context, it kind of sounds like this. And then this little triad again. 14 of the G, 15 of the B, 13 of the high E. This time we're just going to let that note ring for a little bit. "13, 12, 10 twice. Little hammer on 10 to 12 of the B, finish on 10 of the high E. Grab 12 of the high E for a full step bend release. And then a little trill, 10 to 12 back to 10. And then we're going to grab 13 of the B, give it a little double pump, full step bend. A little pentatonic. Finish back on the 13 of the B. And then we're into this. So we're sliding into 16 of the G string, down to 15 of the B, back to 16. And then we're flattening our index finger down to the 15 of the high E, and then back to 15 of the B. Kind of like that. Finishing that little phrase with a nice full step bend at the 13th of the B. And then we're into this. Just bending the 13th fret of the B string off to 10, back on to 13. Bending again, lots of vibrato. And I think you do that like 2 or 3 times. And then you slide into this. 15th fret, B in the high E, pulling off 17 of the high E, grabbing the 15 of the B, and at that point the guitars fade out, the solo fades out, you can't really hear anything, but I like to keep it going. Back up into that, pulling off 15 to 14 and grabbing the 15 of the B, kind of like. And so that's pretty much the end of the solo. So let's run through that final part 10 at a relaxed pace, and then we'll be done. So, and that's it. This is going to be an hour and a half. But it's the only one, because no one else is crazy enough to do a tutorial for this one. But I hope that helped you out. It's pretty darn close to correct. There's going to be a few misnotes here and there in a solo this long. But I've been obsessed with this solo for the past month and a half, and I think I'm ready to move on from it. But God, I love it. I love this solo. So you guys take care of yourselves. Have a lot of fun with that solo. It's a really dynamite Mark Knopfler. It's his finest solo, in my opinion. Take care of yourselves. Hope you're well in your little guitar corner of the world, and we'll see you another time. Cheers.